Hey, this is Dan here from Rune Silk, and I'm joined by one other, and that's none other than Damo for show, and this is the Beardmail podcast. So sit back, listen, and enjoy.
Welcome to the Beardmail podcast. Today we are talking about zombies.
Lick the microphone. Oh, if you're not vibing to that intro music yet, oh my gosh, you just love that feel good vibe, that music. Dun, 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 dun. I love it, man. Sitting there vibing before it starts.
Yeah, that's lovely, Dan. But then we've just scared everybody with lots of like zombie noises. So
Yeah, they're like, oh shit, it's broken. Their mics are broken. Feedback, white noise, brown noise, horrible. Get off. Imagine someone's got that on like 45 in their car stereo. They're like, oh, I crashed into something. And then they wake up 30 seconds later, all reanimated and that.
What sort of bees make milk?
Zombies? Cow bees? What?
Boobies. This is just my seamless link to then get to zombies. I haven't thought of the zombies yet. But what sort of? I just thought boobies, zombies, bees. Bit joke. Look, Dan. This is how we work, right? Today's episode, because we're into October, I thought we could regale some stories about zombies, about zombie films, about anything zombie related. You are very good at impressions usually. I don't know if you've got a decent zombie one in you, and just talk about zombies. However, if that conversation lasts 5 minutes, we'll talk about something else. How does that sound for today's podcast, mate?
It sounds good, but I think we're out. I'm out. Let's just go. We're just already scared everyone. Let's just go. Let's just turn it off. That's the quickest podcast record. Beardmail podcast, 2 minutes and 19 seconds. You can just carry on with the rest of your day now. Zombies. What about them? What about zombies?
Do you have a story to regale? Because I've got quite a few, but it could be like about a zombie film that's your favorite one. It could be an experience or anything zombie related. Have you got a story in your bag? It doesn't matter if you
I wouldn't necessarily say story, apart from the fact that I always kind of really enjoyed zombie stuff, but Meg's hated anything. She's not a horror kind of girl. She hates anything scary. She's a little bit like, and then she all of a sudden started watching that iZombie program, which was a little bit more comical kind of zombie stuff. And I was like, right, I reckon I could get her into watching Walking Dead from here. And I did, and now she's hooked. We've watched like Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, World's End, or whatever it's called. That other whatever that other series is that's more funny. And now she loves it. She loves zombie stuff, and I think, what is it that makes us really like watching zombie stuff? I don't know.
There's a lot of it about it. It is a genre in itself. Let me ask you some questions first and foremost before we get deep, man. Before we get deep, what is your favorite zombie film or series, or film and series?
That's a good question. I think they've all got their own merits, but there was one that we watched. I think it was the scariest one I think I've seen, which I would say is probably the best, is Black Summer, I think it's called. Was that
a prequel to White Winter?
No. No, it was. I think they've done 2 seasons of it, but the zombies were more scary. Like, you watch something like Walking Dead, and they're all you're wondering, how did you get caught? Like, look, like I've got about half an hour, and he's like 6 feet away, and he's like dragging his leg, and you wonder how anyone actually gets caught. But this Black Summer one, when they first turn, they're quick, they're strong, they're powerful, they're agile. You're fucked. Like, literally no chance. So they run twice as fast as most people. They can literally rip doors off of cars, and like they're proper aggro. So it's kind of more like.
Where is this scarier. Black Summer, Dan? Where do I find it? Is it a film or a series? Is it a Netflix?
It's a series. I'm sure it's on the flicks. Black Summer. I think they're up to American television series up to season 2 seasons. Yeah.
I'm going to have a little dabble. I have not watched that one, so I can't comment. But I like the concept of zombies that are a little bit faster and harder, because that is interesting. I watched and started to watch The Walking Dead a long while ago, and very much enjoyed the first couple of seasons because I know we've sort of touched on films before, and there's other people that do horror film reviews and that properly, but I liked the concept that it could be real, it could happen. It's not a million miles away, and it was really interesting, the relationship between the characters, how different people go about survival, how they get into tribes to survive, and different people play different roles. And there's all the I liked all that in the early days, but then when it got silly and there was the scrapyard people and the people that weren't, and then it was revealed that actually it's a cartoon and it's supposed to be a bit silly, I lost interest in it. But I loved like Negan as a character. I think I binged it a lot. I know some people watched it first time around and you wait for it every week and it's quite good. I binged a lot of it. When you binge a lot of these things in one go, you get annoyed because the acting is very samey, like listening to the main guy going call, like that's all he does all the time, call, and it gets a bit annoying. But I did very much enjoy it to start with. Now, our fear of zombies, like you're right, they are really slow, and you can like take them out. It's the numbers, but I always think that in a real life scenario, it's the numbers that will get you, because eventually there's just going to be trillions of them, and it's dangerous. However, I have always thought in a post-apocalyptic arena like that, if like zombies did happen, I think I'd quite enjoy a couple of weeks or a couple of months living like that, because the worst case scenario is that you get bitten by one and then you just turn into one. Like you can't lose. You can't really lose, can you? Then you just become a zombie and then you win. Like what a life scenario where you don't lose and you don't die. That's good, right?
Well, I guess it depends. Like you see some that literally, I don't know if it's in Walking Dead, but there's certain ones where they come across a zombie in the forest, for example, and he's got no arms and legs, or he's just a head, and it's like, well, that would be pretty crap, wouldn't it? It's like, yeah, I'm alive, but I can't. Literally, just been looking at these 5 leaves that have settled on my face for 25 years, and
Dan, I can change
I'm
your
gonna
mind.
lie.
I can change your mind right now, because if you did become a zombie, what would actually happen is you would lose all of your entrepreneurial drive for creating money and business. All you would care about is eating food, which is pretty much like what you are like now, right? So if you were a zombie and you were
if
lying,
you can't eat food, imagine like if all you could do, all you wanted to do was eat, but like you had no arms and legs, and you're like, you just trying, and there's nothing to eat for years. That'd be torture.
but that's what they do, though. They just eat. Like, so wouldn't you like to be an able-bodied zombie that can eat? Or maybe if I'm a zombie as well, I'll help you out. I'll feed you a little bit. Maybe I've already fed you your own legs and arms because you were that hungry.
I would get hungry, actually. I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they don't look like they're having much fun, do they? They're kind of just all standing around until food comes, and if food doesn't come, then they don't really
Yeah,
survive.
but they're happy in themselves, Dan. They're just moping around doing nothing. They've got no drive to do anything apart from mope around and eat some people. What a life to live.
That would be quite good, actually. Just maybe, like you kind of said, you'd like to do it for like a couple of months, and then I think if it was years, like I always think, oh, what if there's like a zombie apocalypse? Like I'm already prepared. Like I'm straight down the storage unit. I'm gonna lock up. I've got my air rifle down. Pew 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 pew. Sit at the top of the container. We even. Sorry, just reminded me when the pandemic first hit and everyone was on lockdown, and you were allowed to go out for essential goods to the shop. We would always refer to it as a run because it was so carnage and so weird and eerie and messed up when you go into a supermarket and there's nothing on the shelves. Me and Megs would refer to it. We were like, oh God, I've got to go out on a run today, because we had to battle all the hordes of people scrapping over the last bag of pasta. It becomes quite ingrained, but I think but a lot of people get really involved, don't they? I mean, like they literally go to zombie meetups and they get dressed up as zombies and do zombie experiences, and it's actually like a bit like cosplay, I guess, isn't it? But you just cover yourself in loads of blood, and imagine it's kind of some mega zombie type orgies happen. I've never been to one of these parties. I can only imagine.
For starters, Dan, if your air rifle makes the sound pew, pew, you're going to die. You haven't got a week left in you when it happens. But you're right. Zombieing is a thing, and people go to zombie experiences. And we have got the Halloween podcast coming out soon where we talk about scary stuff in more depth, and particularly pumpkins. However, I did want to do a thing I actually played a zombie, and people go for this experience, and they pay like £100 to stay overnight in a disused prison, and then basically zombies just scare the shit out of them, do different things. But I actually had to have zombie training. It's not just about putting loads of blood on your face and making yourself look scary. Zombie training, and there were different types of zombies. There were zombies that walked really slow, and you had to drag one leg behind you. There were zombies that were faster. There was also zombies that were blind. So if you made no noise, they wouldn't get you, or we wouldn't get you. So literally, we just couldn't see. And I think there were zombies that only crawled. So there was different types that we had to do. But what was the best brilliant thing? Well, I'd love everybody to have a go. If you're listening or if you're watching, have a go at this. How they taught us to do a zombie noise is you basically say the word home, but you say it whilst breathing inwards. Have a go, Dan. Hang on, I might have got that wrong. No, that's right. Yeah, why are you breathing in? And that's how you do a professional zombie voice. But there are
actually, you just said Homer. You didn't say home. You said Homer. What's Simpsons got to do with this?
Yeah.
Oh, now you get controversial.
So that's how you become an official zombie. Zombie films. I need to get. I did like The Walking Dead, but I'm going to go and check out this Black Summer. What about some of the funnier ones like Shaun of the Dead and that? And there's even that one. What's the one in Woody Harrelson when he goes around smashing up stuff?
Oh, that's actually quite good. I forget what that is. There's two of them. There's two in the series, isn't there? But that is actually quite good. It's got Bill Murray in it.
Yes.
That is actually quite good. I forget what it's called now though. The other funny series, which I find is Z Nation. It's a bit more kind of slapstick and comical, but not almost. It's a bit more light-hearted in terms of zombie stuff. You can sort of rattle through that quite quickly. But there's got to be some more film noir ones, haven't they, where they're actually pretty twisted? Because I think the thing where one of the reasons, and I read something about one of the episodes of Walking Dead, which was really shocking. And I think one of the reasons why people don't mind zombies so much, even though they're gory as hell, people are getting ripped apart and zombies are getting smashed in the face and bits are flying everywhere. But because it's zombies and they're killing zombies, apparently we don't mind that. But there's an episode, and if you haven't seen this episode in
Spoiler
Walking
alert.
Dead,
Spoiler alert.
It is a spoiler alert, and it's when Glenn is killed by Negan. And that got quite really got hammered by the public because it was a lovable character, and the way that he was taken out. Yeah, he was loved character, and the way that he was taken out apparently got loads of criticism because it was real. It was to a person and not to a zombie. And I think that's probably why, because I don't know if Negan becomes good in the comics, because obviously I think then they try and make you start to love Negan, and they start to make the story a bit more about how he had a shit life. But when it comes to battering zombies, we don't mind all the guts and the blood and the intestines and all the stuff because we can almost, because I guess there's that. But I think because the reality of zombification is actually quite far-fetched and unrealistic to happen, it almost allows you to think actually it's not so bad, because the reality of a zombie apocalypse really happening is quite low, so therefore we accept it as a not so scary reality.
That said, there are, and I think we're okay to do spoiler alerts on The Walking Dead because it's old, but there are some scenes where they have zombies that are people that were liked. So in the very, very early doors, one of the main characters, who's the British guy, the black guy who's in the very beginning, and he appears later on as well. And Carl goes to his house, but his wife is before. And then
he's the one that's in Fear the Walking Dead. He's not English, is he? He's the Morgan.
Yeah,
Morgan. Yeah, he's like the main character
because he's in some other.
Maybe he is British.
But anyhow, I'm sure.
Morgan.
Doesn't he have he actually goes to shoot his wife? because she's a zombie, and he hates seeing her because she looks not scary. She looks like his actual wife. And then later on, they've got the guy, and it's his daughter, and he kept his daughter as a zombie. He didn't want to kill her because she was alive, although she was a zombie. It was still his daughter. So there's a little bit.
The president guy, wasn't it? Not the president. The
basically Liam Neeson.
Yeah. The guy who runs that township.
The defense.
Is he the president or whatever?
He was like the mayor or something. He had a name like that. But it's good. It's taking me back now. I might rewatch it. But what you were saying there about killing them because of Glenn. Earlier on, Glenn, we already thought he died at another point, and that was heartbreaking. I remember being really sad because we thought Glenn had died once before, but then he survived, but you didn't know until he did. But I didn't know it got to the point where people started to love Negan. I started to love Negan after this scene. Are you ready? I hope you got your shitting pants on. Because you're about to shit your pants. That was when I started loving Negan. What a legendary line.
But he's a good character. Although he does some real twisted stuff in the season,
survival.
It's exactly that. It was all about survival. He had a shit time, with his wife and stuff like that. And the story about his wife's actually quite sad, and you understand why he gets a hatred for people. But yeah, it's I quite liked him as a character. Then he does become a bit nice, and then obviously at the end where what's his face sort of has that scrap with him, and then he ends up going to Hilltop, and then their big meeting with him and Maggie again. And I think I liked him as a character. There's a few people in there like Daryl. Obviously, everyone loves Daryl, right? Daryl's a sick guy. Goes through some cool stuff. Loves to do the hunting. There was a few things like what's her name? I can't remember names now. So we only just started watching it again because the new episodes have come out.
Is there a new series? Oh, don't tell me anything about that. I didn't know that.
No, they are. They're finishing off the last few episodes of the last season. It's Carol, her daughter. I'm almost glad that she died. Because do you know what? One thing I really hate, really, really gets my goat about zombie films and scary films in general. It's when the kids make loads of noise and they run off. Fuck off. I'm not going to go. Oh, we need to go and find her. No. We're not sending 20 people to find your annoying bastard of a child to probably lose 3 of them to save her when all she does is scream, cry, and run away. Fuck off. It's the same, isn't it? When you get those really angst moments in a film when you're like, why are you going in there? Why? Yeah. He's in the lounge. Just go out the front door and run. Why are you walking around the house with a high heel stiletto or something? Just go. I hate that, especially and it's the kids. It's kids in these films. They annoy the hell out of me. Why? One, they ain't definitely going to be running off into a forest. If I'm 8, I'm not going to run away to a forest, a big dark scary forest. Oh, run away! That's not where I'm going to run. I'll go that way. There's a lot of inconsistencies in The Walking Dead, though, that kind of annoy me a little bit. Sometimes they're really strong. In one character where he's lying there, zombie on top of him, they literally just rip his stomach open, and then all of a sudden they can't even smash a window. What? How can you rip someone open but not be able to break a window or a door? Or do you know what I mean?
Probably would have ruined the whole film if they did get too strong in the wrong points. It's a little bit of trick photography in it for the cameras. They're not using real zombies, Dan. Remember that.
They should. Bloody hell.
I don't think I've seen many other zombie movies. But The Walking Dead was I enjoyed.
The one with Brad Pitt, I think, is the only one I can remember.
Was that
War
Z, something like that?
World War Z or something like that?
Don't know. I tell you what, I did do once. This was in Essex. There's an old-fashioned, real-life nuclear bunker that they used during the war, Albert, during the war. And they've converted it into, it is like a historical place where you can walk around in the day and learn shit about nuclear bunkers. But in the evening, it's a zombie experience where they throw live zombies in there, but you get actual guns. And they only shoot air or something, but they look like proper guns. They're like badass. They look like actual guns. And when you shoot them, they don't go bang really loud, but they make enough of a noise to pretend that you're shooting stuff. And then the actors are obviously they're really scary zombies, and it's really dark and it's really like scary and the smoke and stuff. And there's a whole story, and there might be like a group of 10 of you doing this experience, and you're led by 2 or 3 actual actors, and there's a story to follow. But if you like see a zombie and you shoot it, it actually reacts as if you shot it. And so it was a live scary experience with actual zombies, and they would jump out at you, and it would be pretty scary if you're not. Obviously, I was just, I was cool and just like like that, and like pistol whipping and that, but frowned upon. And you weren't actually allowed to like hit them. But I do know this. Apparently, there's some that you can do, like in the forest, where you have like a riot shield and that, and you're actually allowed to hit the zombies. So sign me up for that one. I think that would be cool. Let's get a lot of beardy guys together to go run around the woods and smash up some zombies that are actually actors, budding actors.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll see quite a lot in the coming weeks, because I know like a lot of the farms that have like the corn mazes, the maize mazes, they tend to turn those into zombie experiences. And do you know what? I don't know.
I'm booked in.
Have you? You doing one?
I'm booked in. I'm going to one near Leighton Buzzard. It's on Home Mead Farm or something. They've got the Cirque du Soleil there, and then they've got 5 different attractions or arenas. I'm sure one of them will be full of zombies, but other stuff, and it's live scare entertainment. But they've got a bar, they've got food down, you'd love it. They've got a bar as well, and it's a whole sort of like attraction thing. It's
where's my invite?
There's different dates over the end of October.
Nice.
Come along, Dan. It's food and scary stuff. I'm dressing up. I'm going to be a scary monk.
I don't. My fear is that I'd either one actually shit my pants
and get no food.
Two, my fight or flight would be to punch them in the face. Like there's I've seen some of the videos of some of these maze, like in the Halloween ones, where you walk around the corner and there's just some old woman's in a rocking chair in the dark, just going.
You'd punch an old woman in the face, Dan. You would punch.
No, I wouldn't. But that would definitely scare me. But like, I think if I walked around the corner and someone jumped out at me, I think my fight or flight would just be like, fucking have some of that. Because I think I do scare a bit easily. There's actually a CCTV footage of me when I used to work at Spa, and we all laughed at it for ages. There's a guy got in a really big box. Like, watching the video back, it's really quite funny. And I'd come into the storeroom and he'd come out at me, and I actually went for him and nearly laid him out, because I was just like, oh fuck. And he was like, oh sir, and I was like, sorry mate. I said, don't do that again, man.
There's a wicked one of them. There's someone's like a werewolf in a bin or something. It's in America. It's ages old, and he pops up and he literally knocks him out. Just knocks him spark out. That's the fight or flight for you, Dan. That's the fight or flight.
So I think it'd be good to experience. I'd love to do one of those overnight ones. I had an idea whenever I used to drive to London to the markets, when I used to do the Brick Lane markets on a regular. On the side of the A1 going down towards London, there's like an old an old service station. I think it is like an old petrol station they can't build on it, because for a certain amount of years you're not allowed to build on those sites because of the fuel and all the tanks underneath, etc. So it's just been abandoned. And I was looking at, I'd love to take over one of those and do like an overnight experience where you've just got to stay overnight. You're camping out, like, the whole point is, like, the storyline is, you've come across this, it is zombie everywhere. You've come across this abandoned service station and you need to hunker down for the night. There's zombies hitting the windows. You don't get any sleep. That's the whole point is all part of sleep deprivation, trying to stay awake. There's people banging on the windows. Someone knocks on the door screaming, let me in, zombies outside. And you've got to make the decision whether you let them in or not. Are they bitten?
And this is a real thing. This is literally what I did at that abandoned prison years ago. So the people turned up with all their sleeping kit. They were told they were going to be sleeping in a prison cell. So bring your own sleeping bag and your own,
cool
stuff like that. So they took their own stuff. And then they were all amassed in this outdoor building to start with, and they left all their bags in there. And then we planned it, so we scared the shit out of them, and they all ran out and they all left their bags. So then they didn't have all the stuff that they thought they were going to have all night. Then we took them to another area, because obviously there's other staff as well that weren't zombies. And they did actually spend the night in the cell, but then they had to like send a couple of people out to go and get the bags. And there was different tasks throughout the night, but there
Nice.
was different
Cool.
zones, because you imagine a prison's quite a big area, and they used to use it like for paintball and stuff as well. Quite a big area. You've got outbuildings, you've got education rooms and stuff like that. And basically that's what you do throughout the whole night. You exactly what you said, sleep deprivation, keeping them awake, scaring them and all that throughout the night. And then just when they settle in, they think they're going to get some sleep, something happens and it really scares the shit out of them. And there was actually a lot of people, they got injured a lot because they would panic and run into stuff. Like I remember, I laughed and I shouldn't have done, like secretly. There was a couple of zombies, right? They were doing it with me, and they weren't so great at being zombies. They were all right, but they were a bit too much. And I thought, I'm going to set up something what's really, really scary. And there was a corridor where I knew they were all going to walk past me. And I actually hid myself behind a door. So whereas some of the other zombies were quite active and they're running about and screaming and trying to be scary, I just stood and I looked perfect, right? I got my beard was this sort of short length, but I was all pasted up like a big scar down my head. And I just stood behind this door that had a glass window in, like the old school ones when if you break it, it wouldn't break. It's got the crisscross. And I just stood in it like this, right? And not moving an inch. And because it's quiet, they're like, something's going to happen, something's going to happen, something's going to happen. And then a couple of people walk past me, don't see me, and just keep going. So everyone's like, something's going to happen in a minute, but we don't know what it is. They're half expecting someone to jump out or something. And then they get to like the door that's just past me. And then say there's a group of 10 of them. One of them just happens to look round and no one else has seen me. And I'm just there like that. And they went, "Wah!" And they literally ran off, smacked their head right on a fire hose. You get them fire hoses.
Oh, yeah.
And I just turned around and a little laugh. But then like the first aiders come in. And then they all panicked and they all ran out and all that. But it's really, really cool. And in hindsight, I think I'd love to be a participant in it. But at that time, it wasn't. I didn't want to pay £100 to stay overnight in prison because I'd done that before. So I wanted to be a zombie. But I would highly recommend them. The group of people that organised that, because that was Leicester, they'd done one the year before, and it was literally in the city of Leicester, and they hadn't thought this through, but they actually had Joe Public phoning up the police saying there's some terrible shit going on. There's zombies running down the street, like, because they hadn't sort of thought to forewarn. They must have rented like 2 different areas or something, but a load of zombies went across the road, and literally Joe Public were phoning the police going, "Oh my God, it's happening." And they had actual police turn up on that, which is why I think they probably did it in the prison the year after.
It'd be good. I think that would be good as a stag do experience. And also, I mean, we're trying to, our old schoolmates, we want to try and do something every year. So I might suggest something like that.
Big time. You can do it when you stay out in the forest, actually. That was in Nottingham. I had a little look. And 1,000,000% I would have done it, apart from I know how chuffing cold it is in November in a forest, in a tent. So I didn't go for it. But yeah, I would love to do another something like that. You can do, like escape rooms. Some of those have gone a bit live actory now. So you get your traditional escape room where you're in there, you pay 40 quid or whatever, and you've got to get out. Some of them have gone a little bit bigger, and they've added a few live actors. I did one once in Bristol, and the live actor was like a chainsaw wielding horrific thing. But I remember there was one I had seen in Birmingham, actually, and it was a zombie one. And I think you had to have at least 12 people, but it's an escape room, but with live action zombies in it, and you've got to survive and you've got to get out. So it's definitely a thing that, it doesn't have to be a couple of £100 weekend away in a forest necessarily. It is something you could do as an experience for a couple of hours. But yeah, I've got hype for that now. Now we've talked about zombies, Dan, you might have just lightened a little fire to go and do some stuff.
I think it'd be quite fun. I mean, so I don't know if when we did the challenge thing, when I did that sort of SAS survival thing in the summer.
Yes.
Did I tell you what one of their activities are?
Bury the sausage.
They do like a full-on weekend thing where when you arrive, you literally arrive, they bang a bag over your head, zip tie you up. They've got AK-47s and balaclavas on. They chuck you on a rib boat, take you off to an island in Scotland, fuck you off on the boat, take the masks off, and then they've got guys stood there with balaclavas and guns. But imagine if you did something like that, but then chucked a zombie twist on it. So like the guys with the guns all of a sudden get eaten by some zombies, and you've got to then choose: do you get over there and get their gun? You know, what do you do? Like, do you just run? And then you've got like a zombie on an island, but you can't get off the island because the boats. Yeah.
The only thing that ruined that for me was I was imagining the guys with balaclavas, just balaclavas and guns, nothing else, and it ruined it a bit for me.
A bit naked, like stood there.
Yeah, that's right. I just thought, boys, me and you, balaclavas, big guns, a load of people tied up in a rib boat, and tell them, yeah, it's actually a zombie experience or something. Dan said, I don't know, let's just get on the island.
Yeah.
Buy some Beardmail, buy a beard care box.
Wrong party. Quick, escape. I thought this was the hen party. Put the clothes back on. Yeah, no, I think that'd be good. But yeah, I don't know. It's a funny one, isn't it? Zombies, but we're funny. Yeah, I think I like some films, like there's certain like thriller films that I don't understand how people can watch. But zombies, different.
I think it's because technically it could happen. Like, for example, if you see a flying dragon or a monster that flies and breathes fire or whatever, it's a bit make-believe, isn't it? But a zombie, potentially, especially like you think about all the stuff that's happening in the world, you know, with COVID and diseases and stuff, like it is conceivable that something could leak from somewhere and it could numb the brains of human beings and make them into zombies. I didn't mention, we've run out of time, but there's a computer game called Days Gone, which is a zombie apocalypse one, and the early storyline is at a disused service station, exactly like you explained down the A5 there, and they've got little kid zombies on the roof, and they're scary because they're quick, but you still shoot them because you don't care, but it is scary. But yeah, we didn't even talk about computer games with zombies in, but that was pretty scary. I used to play that, and my missus would be in the room, and she would actually have an adrenaline wobble and actually panic when the hordes of stuff were running after you. It was pretty scary, man. And that's just on a telly thing. So let's make it happen, then. Let's do some zombie shizzle one day.
Yeah. But then I guess you link off from zombies to things like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and those sorts of scary things. But we could talk about scary games at another time.
We could. That's a good idea for an episode, Dan. Do you know what we should do? We should finish this one and record another one. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Just quickly, I think I've seen one of our beard lot dressed as Negan for fancy dress. I'm going to put it out there. I think it might have been JP Walker. I'm not sure. Big shout out. Whoever it was that I've seen as Negan dressed in fancy dress. Not necessarily a beard competition. I'm sure it was just online somewhere. But there you go. Let us know in the comments who's your favourite zombie film, if you like zombies, if you've ever dressed up in fancy dress for zombies, if you'd like to go away for a dirty weekend on a rib boat with Damo and Dan in balaclavas under the guise of it being a zombie fest. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a beard care box. We'll see you all another day. Do you want to say bye, Dan? Bye! Thanks for listening or watching the Beardmail podcast. We have new episodes dropping at 07:30 a.m. every Wednesday in UK time. So we thank you very much for watching. Check us out on www.beardmail.co.uk for everything that's new and happening soon. Thanks for listening, guys. If you're still listening after the show, if you're watching on YouTube, because I know there's a few of you now that watch this little bonus bit on the extra, drop in the comments the word rubber and we might sort you out with a little treat. Isn't that right, Dan?
Yes, rubber.
I just thought about that right now. Drop in the comments rubber and something might happen in the fashion of a Beardmail rubber band. Bye for now.